Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Popular Decks. I'm your host Michael and I'm here today with this Bogles deck. I'm kind of running low on top tier decks to play for the series, so I'm either going to have to go to some fringe decks or we're going to have to go to replaying some of these. So I'll definitely replay some of the fun ones, especially some of the ones that have received updates since I last played them. I need to play this Bogles deck, Burn, Red deck wins, and then Delver, and I'll have kind of finished off most of the high tier decks. And then there's a couple of fringe decks I want to try out. There's some kind of aristocrats deck. I'll probably try a mono white deck out, and after that I'll probably start repeating some things. So here we are with this Bogles deck. Bogles got kind of the only important card in my opinion for Pauper at all, basically in Amonkhet, which is this cartouche of Solidarity. So what's important about this cartouche is that unlike any other card, I don't believe there are any other ones, and there definitely aren't any more for 1 mana, that give you protection from both Electrickery and from Edict. So this card comes into play and gives you +1/+1, so you're protected from Electrickery thanks to the extra toughness, and then you get a token to protect you from the Edict as well. So this card is pretty good. Then again, it doesn't pump the power too much, so you can't take out too many things for it. I cut some of the kind of flex slots that this deck had. Like I used to have a Hyena Umbra, and like I think I had a Mana Tithe at some point, and I put in another one of these. So I cut some stuff that was kind of extra and put these in. So for those of you who don't know what Bogles is, it's basically just a hexproof deck. It's not just basically, it's literally a hexproof deck. So it's named after Slippery. I call it Boggle, but it's technically Bogle. So you guys can suck it as far as the pronunciation police. I'm going to call it a Boggle because that's what I always called it, and that's what a lot of people call it. But I do know that it's called a Bogle. I think it's like a Scottish word or something for some kind of spirit thing. I don't know. But anyway, so this guy's the original hexproof 1 mana 1/1 hexproof guy. So you can cast him for a green. And then we've got the Gladecover Scout that came in N14. And then we've got Solana Ledgewalker, which costs 2 mana, so it's not quite as good, but it has some evasion, so it can be nice as well. We're a really low mana count deck though, which is why the Ledgewalker is not quite as good as the 1 mana guys, because the 1 mana is very important. So even playing this many 3-drops, I'm a little dubious with only 19 lands, but we do get a little bit of extra mana from, we've got some Utopia Sprawls, and then we've got Abundant Growth to fix our mana and help us draw towards another land or whatever we need. And then the rest of the deck is pretty much just all enchantments to put on your creatures. So we've got a bunch of auras to stick on these guys. So we make them huge, and then our opponent can't kill them because they can't target them. So, like I mentioned before, we've got the Cartouche, gives it first strike, and makes it a little bit bigger. Got these Ethereal Armors. This is the best card in the deck. It's not even close. If I could play like 20 of these, that'd be like the only. It would be the only enchantment I would play. I don't think I'd play anything else. Maybe I'd play like Rancor, but I wouldn't play any of this other garbage if I could just play all Ethereal Armors. But you can't. You can only play 4. So we've got that going on. The reason it's so good is you get +1/+1 for each enchantment, and typically you're going to control 4, 5, 6 enchantments at any given time. You got the ones on your lands, you got the other ones you put on your creatures, so you're going to have a ton of them. We've got 4 Rancors. It's cheap, efficient. If they kill your guy, you get it back. Really nice. Lets you get your giant creature unchumpable, basically. So you do need some tramplers, otherwise you couldn't just run Ethereal Armors. You'd need a couple of ways to give trample too. So we got that, and then we've got Ancestral Mask. This is like the big daddy Ethereal Armor. The only problem with it is it doesn't pump at all by itself. So like I had an opponent yesterday who like kind of got me tapped low, and then they played this out, but they didn't have any other enchantments, and then I just Electrickery'd their guy the next turn, because it was still just a 1/1. So this one you got to be careful with, but typically you're going to have at least like 3 enchantments total, so you'll probably have 2 more by the time you cast this guy. And now we've got Armadillo Cloak. So this is why this deck is so good against Burn. you get to gain a ton of life. You've got a really fast clock. This is not quite lifelink, so if you put 2 of these on your creature, it's a triggered ability. So if you put 2 of them on, you get 2 triggers, so you gain the life twice. So that's impressive against burn, but it's not quite as good against, like, if you want to block. So like if your opponent attacks you with something and you block with an armadillo cloak creature, you don't gain the life before they kill you. So that's not great. Finally, I got 2 Heliod's Pilgrim. They eat an edict pretty well. They've got a nice ability to search out whatever we need. I would say with this, like almost every time, if I have 4 mana, I'm searching out Ethereal Armor. Sometimes I'll get a Rancor if I don't have any trample and I really need it, but usually it's Ethereal Armor if I can cast Heliod's Pilgrim plus Ethereal Armor. Otherwise, you're probably getting one of the 3 mana ones because you definitely have at least 3 mana already. Finally, the lands are pretty straightforward. The only interesting piece is the Colony Garden. There's 2 Colony Gardens to protect us from edicts a little bit. I do play 1 plains. Some of these decks I don't think all play plains in them, but I do. So I wanted to have the fetch lands available. The reason I'm not playing any copies of Ash Barrens and playing Terramorphic Expanse instead, so you can keep a hand in this deck with only 1 land, especially if you can keep a Terramorphic Expanse hand that has a forest, and then you put a Utopia Sprawl on it, and then next turn you play a Boggle Ethereal Armor, and you're good to go. So sideboard is kind of my own creation. It's got some stock stuff. It's got some random stuff. Got all kinds of random things though. So I've got 1 more Cartouche of Solidarity. I probably bring this in most of the time. I'll take out some of the stuff that doesn't matter quite as much, but most of the hate cards get beaten by Cartouche, so I want that. I got 2 lifelink, shore up the burn matchup even more. Aggressive decks, it's obviously great against them. I got 2 gut shots. This is primarily for other people who are playing Standard Bearer, which I'll get to in a second. But you can also bring it in against Delver. You can hit a Spellstutter Sprite with it. Spellstutter Sprite is really good against our deck. It can counter our guys and it can block another one of them if we don't have any toughness pumps on it, so gut shot's pretty important. Got 2 Scattershot Archer. Delver isn't quite as prominent as it used to be. I mean, Blue-Red Delver is, but Scattershot Archer isn't quite as good against Blue-Red Delver as it is against regular Delver. It's still great though. I got 2 Young Wolf. They're just sacrifice fodder. I'm considering taking some of these out just because we have a lot more stuff for Chainer's Edict now than we did before with these extra cartouches, but we'll see for now. Blue-Black is still a popular deck, so I like having those in. I got a Dawn Charm. It kind of does a lot of different things. It fogs if you're playing against a deck that, like Kudel'Tha Boros, or like some token deck that's going to play a big pump spell on their creature. You can regenerate your guy if they're going to like Trickery it. You can counter an Edict with it. It's pretty versatile. It's so expensive though, I don't always like to have it in the deck, but you can sometimes bring it in. Then I've got these 2 Standard Bearers. So for those of you who don't know what Standard Bearer does, if you have a Flag Bearer, your opponent has to target a Flag Bearer with any targeted ability that can target a Flag Bearer. So in this case, we've got these 2 Standard Bearers. Basically, we have these for the mirror, and also any deck where we think they're going to have their own Standard Bearers. So if our opponent has a Standard Bearer, we want to have our own. Because you don't have to target your opponent's Flag Bearer, you can target your own. So sometimes you want to bring those in too. So you can just load up your own Standard Bearer instead of actually like loading up their creature. You can actually play your enchantments. 2 Gleeful Sabotage, good in the mirror, good against Affinity. I think I used to have some more of these, but this is what I've got right now. And finally, I added 1 Cartouche of Strength as well. I took out a 3rd gut shot that I had. This can take out a Standard Bearer is kind of the primary goal of it, but it's pretty good against some other decks. Like maybe we're playing against Burn and I want to take out a... I don't know if this is good enough to bring in against Burn, but like if I want to take out a Thermo Alchemist, or I don't know, if there's some important creatures around, you can bring this in. It's pretty good against maybe like Red Deck Wins. So I've got this as well in the deck. So that's pretty much it for this deck tech. Remember to give me any comments or suggestions in the comment section below, and remember to subscribe to my channel or follow me on Twitter if you want to get updated every time I put out new videos. Like I said in the last couple of videos, I will be putting out new videos every weekday for the next few weeks. So going to be a lot of content coming out if you guys want to check it out. I believe that is it for this. So with that, let's get to some games.